show some in the portal, some examples about how you can make quick wins of saving money here, right? So you have reservations, you have orphaned, you have the lifecycle management for storage, and before in the cost analysis, we were saying also that you have, of course, all the costs, but you have the other, right? So the gray area. What is that? Those are many times hidden costs. And here, it's very nice that you can go from a hot tier where you have the really quickly available data, but it's expensive because it's mostly SSDs or quick disks, and that you can move to a cheap tier, but this move here costs money. And this many times, or most probably, will go to the other cost that you see. So there are some recommendations from Microsoft, like try not to move small files, try to move big files, because the smaller the file, if you have like 1,000, 10,000, 1 million small files, it's going to cost a lot of money to do this transition. I'm going to show you about spot instances, also right sizing, and well, you already said like turn off the machine, right? But I'm going to show you by the end of the slides how to automate this, how to do the right sizing automatically, or how to do the turn on instances. The first one, reserve instances. You can actually directly look for reservations in the portal and look how many resources you can make reservations of and save a lot of money, right? So when I started in Azure, like many years ago, I thought it was only virtual machines. It's like the first one you see, but everything that has like some storage or some computing, you can make a reservation and save tons of money. If you do 1 year, you save, you have a percentage. The more you do 3 years, the more you save. So for the 12-minute challenge, you know where to go. Delete orphan resources. This is, and I'm coming again to the virtual machine. When you create a virtual machine, you have to pay attention to these things here, because they let you delete these resources if you are deleting the VM. So pay attention when you're creating a disk in the portal. Also, if you are doing it with the infra as code, that you check these things and you have this thing so that when you delete your cluster with VMs, that this is not left behind. Okay? So you have, of course, data disk, OS disk, and the network, the internet card. What else? Next, lifecycle management. So of course you can make, you can create your storage account. You can put some files there, but if you're not using them for a long time, especially for files that need to be kept for years in your storage account for compliancy, you want to do this route with these files. And you can create a rule. This is like the first one I created. And you can create some rules. You can choose what you want. Like you can choose from what tier to what tier you want to move, in this direction, of course. And you can decide how many days after being created, or after being modified, or even after being accessed those files, when you want to move it to a cheaper tier, right? And eventually, if you want to delete these files because you don't need them anymore.
These are like S3 of AWS, right?
Sorry?
These are like S3.
Yeah. So storage account is S3
in S3 you have intelligent tier, like intelligent tier. So
okay.
In that it automatically does that. You don't have that in.
It's not there.
I don't know. I need to.
It's not there in everything.
You have it in Azure, right? So 1 point for the.
You can make it over.
Here you,
Yeah, you
you
can-
can also
you
do that in AWS, but
Yeah.
You have you have those rules, and you can decide per team, per project, depending on what on the importance of the data.
The intelligent theory.
Okay.
Do this recycle files
like AWS does its own machine learning in the background and it moves around.
Yeah, but that is
expense you are.
Sorry?
Because the expense you are. Because you do like that, without any way, cheaper. So you use the intelligence layer.
Yeah, it might be expensive.
It's gonna be a bit more expensive because they are doing
Yeah.
your job, basically.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to play with the.
I'm curious,
prices.
how does it know when you need to move
I
the
think
file
it,
to the next tier?
yeah, it analyzes based on how many times you are accessing that.
Oh, there you go.
So, for example, S3, it moves to Glacier at some point of time based
Mhm.
on your.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's quite interesting.
I think still going for AWS.
Yeah, it's a 1.4. It's a 1.4 US, I think. Yeah, definitely. Let me see what it works. So you basically, you know where to find, how to add the rule, and make all the steps. Spark instances. This also is exists in AWS, but this when you're creating the virtual machine, you can decide if you want to run that VM as a spot instance, and you have the eviction type and the eviction policy. So basically, the spot instance is very cheap, so you can actually get even like almost 90% discount with a VM, depending on the family of the VM, and you can choose here depending on the only how the capacity. Basically, if Microsoft decide, okay, we don't have enough VMs to supply with our users with standard VMs, we will take this one, or basically with the price that you choose as a max price when the VM can be evicted. And you can choose also the policy. So basically, if you want to, if you don't mind the VM to be gone, but you want to keep the data in a disk, you won't pay anymore for that VM. The VM is gone, but you will keep the data if you want to restore it in another VM, or if you want to delete, you want Microsoft to delete everything, right? But basically, with this family, for example, one standard VM has a price of like 7 or 8 spot VMs. So if you want to do some playing, in Azure is quite handy. VM resize. So this is very easy. You just have to go to your VM. You can go to the availability there in the size, and you can choose among a list of other sizes where you want to move, right? So this is very easy. You can do it also in AWS. You have to see what VM you are working now in, and yeah, you can actually, I would say resize. Mostly you go down because you're not using it, but you can go up as well. And well, the tags that I really need to say, tags are very important because this is how you describe your resources, right? And I think somebody was saying something about the policy, tag policy, something. And I think that's the first policy I would put in my resources, right? Because you don't want, for cost management, you don't want that data to not be there, right? Especially when, in the case of Azure, if there are many teams, many applications sharing the same subscription, right? You want to know to what team, to what application belong each resource.